I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Page County School Board on Thursday, April 13th, 2023.
I'd like to make a motion for Ms. Gordon to go out virtually.
Second.
A motion and a second to allow Megan Gordon to attend remotely this evening.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mr. Gabriel?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes. Okay, let's have a moment of silence, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mr. Gabriel?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon? Yes.
Okay. Now we'll pause for a minute of silence. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Fox, do you have any changes to the agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Ms. Alger and a second by Mr. Painter.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Gabriel?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Matters discussed in closed session. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to certify personal matters discussed in closed session.
Okay. Second. Motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Mr. Hoover.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Gabriel?
Yes.
Ms. Alger? Yes. Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon? Yes.
Do we have any citizen comments? Okay. I need approval of consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr.
Dr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Gabriel?
Yes.
Ms. Alger? Yes. Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon? Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for February 2023.
It's okay, they're under consent. They're under the consent as well.
Oh,
So you're
okay. Under informational items, a review of the March minutes. Anybody have any?
we'll bring them back next time.
Okay. Okay. Mrs. Sechrist, you're up with information on monthly financials.
Yes, good evening, board members. You all have been provided with the monthly financials for March, where the total expenditures and revenue were $3,452,450.22, along with the local match calculation that we did balance with the treasurer's office. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Information on special education annual plan, Ms. Baker.
Good evening, board members. In your packet this evening, you should have an overview of the special education annual plan for FY 23-24. The first page of that packet takes a look at the school age grant. The majority of the funds go towards personnel services, employee benefits, keeping in line with what we've done in previous years. The second page looks at the preschool portion. Again, the majority of the funds going towards salaries and employee benefits. The third page of the plan takes a look at the maintenance of effort. And what I've included for you on that sheet is the actual maintenance of effort that was submitted for the 21-22 school year. And then the final page, page 4, shows you the projections that will be a part of the annual plan. And you'll be able to see that the projections for maintenance of effort do increase. And if you recall, especially for those of you that are new to the maintenance of effort, the school system has to expend more expenses in the upcoming year than what they've done in previous years to show that they've maintained effort towards special education funding. So we are in line to be able to make maintenance of effort for the upcoming school year based on these projections. And then the last piece that I just wanted to remind you of as you review this is that this grant is to supplement what the school division is doing for special education. It's not intended to supplant what's being currently done. So this was just informational for your first time, and I'll bring it back again next at the next board meeting in case you have any questions. But if you have questions tonight, I'd be happy to answer them.
So I was going to compare it to last year's that you presented as information on March 24th of 22, but it wasn't posted in our agenda to see, so I couldn't compare it. Is there anything on this first page of the school age grant that's different from last year's that wasn't there before?
In terms of the positions, it's the same number of positions. I am proposing that or the child study stipends, that we increase and include an additional child study chairperson at Luray Elementary School because the number of meetings that one individual is having to have far exceeds the other elementary schools. And then there is a special education administrator position that I was projecting an increase for. But it's a position that's currently here at the central office. It's not a new position.
So what's the increase? Like,
Taking it from a 12-month teacher to an actual supervisory.
so really it's taking away a teacher position and making it an administrator position,
It is a central office position currently.
but it's under teacher scale.
It's under teacher scale, 12 months teacher.
And why are you proposing that?
So recent years in special education, the culture and climate in this division has significantly changed, and the administrative responsibilities have increased drastically. The number of state complaints that we've received, the due processes, and the individual who's serving in that 12-month teacher position is being placed in a responsibility of having to do more supervisory type of responsibilities, but not being compensated or acknowledged for that level of responsibility. And it would require that if we take it to that position, that they would have an administrative endorsement. And again, this supplements, it doesn't supplant.
When it comes to funding, you provide the last 5 years for us to review. That it's supposed to go, I'd just like to see the number, but chart it out,
Sure,
bar chart.
sure. Yeah, I can have that for you for next
And
time.
compare with, put some new information in there, who the full-time employees are, the level of the proof.
For this particular grant?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So typically what happens is as salaries increase in our division, especially like for the pre-K grant, we've been able to fund that at a higher percentage through this grant in the past, but then as salaries go up, this grant doesn't increase at the same rate. And so what happens is we oftentimes lose positions.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in, also for what we're paying and what the positions are. Yeah.
So that would only be this grant. You're not asking for all the salary.
On this grant,
Yep.
but I think I would recommend you look at that information anyway, as far as the program goes. Smart to do that. See where it's going from.
So, Mr. Cleaner, you granted me permission to ask for more positions in the local budget?
I'm asking you to get the information that you could ask for more positions.
Any other questions?
Yeah, right. Seacrest is right. You can ask for anything. Whether we can fund it that's the tricky part.
And we do have in the current budget a request for an ECSE teacher.
And that's coming out of local funds, not her grant funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
6.04, Information, Human Resources, and Business Operations, Dr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, there's two topics that I thought would be worthy just to give you an update and as well include public in two areas. One is just where we're at with 23-24 hiring. So obviously, we're right in the middle of spring and people are starting to plan next year, and some have already announced retirements and so on. So I thought you might be interested to know the principals, staff, Mr. Bell, myself have been pretty involved in job fairs, marketing, and hiring. Already, we have secured 13 teachers for next year, and we're very pleased. Included in those two particular topics, we've secured 2 Spanish teachers, which are very hard to find. And we've secured 2 math teachers, which are very hard to find. We went to the large job fair in Harrisonburg. We only met 3 math teachers, and we actually landed 2 of them. We was really, really pleased. And that's a tribute to smiling faces and personalities and our community, what the school system is about. So of those 13 so far, as I said, Spanish, math. We also have science, English, and a couple of elementary. That leaves us today. We are still in search of 9 teachers. Now, again, that's barring resignations and retirements going forward, but we feel really good right now. We have 9 vacancies that we have posted. We're looking for, we're interviewing. Those are ag, tech ed, special ed, English, math, art and elementary levels. We have 3 active candidates that we're in very positive communication with right now. If all 3 of those go well, then we could be down to 6 right now. So it's really been a good hiring season for Page. I don't like to jinx us, but so far so good. Yeah. The other topic is just to give you a safety update on the heels of what's been going on over the last few weeks. I thought it would be nice to share with you all in the community some of the things. And this is the 30,000-foot level update. We don't get into the specifics, obviously, for safety reasons and not sharing strategies and practices too much. But just to give you a few updates on what we've been doing over the last week or so. We have had ongoing safety reminders and informational updates regarding emergency response to all staff. That has taken the form of school-wide meetings. Our principals have conducted specific meetings with staff in several schools. We've done division-wide email reminders. Don't lock doors. Make sure doors are locked. General safety reminders. We've done a lot of that over the last 2 weeks. Ongoing communication with law enforcement and emergency services to ensure cohesion in organization. Wonderful partnership with law enforcement and emergency services. I don't know if the day has gone by that either Dr. Fox or myself haven't had conversations with Sergeant Cavanis, Captain Owens, Sheriff Coverage, Chief Cook, Chief Dean, the list goes on. Mr. Bell is going to be involved in a large meeting tomorrow with the county emergency services as well. So that's been very, very fruitful. We have done deep safety debriefs with all principals. Very, very fruitful and positive meeting with our principals where we debriefed lessons learned, that kind of thing. We continue to evaluate our school and division level protocols to make sure that we're on point and people know what needs to happen. Ongoing research regarding safety tools and processes, and I can give you a couple of examples of the things we're looking at. Currently, we're in the process of bidding out locking systems that would allow guests of schools to stop outside the front door and speak into a microphone and look into a camera system, and the secretaries would be able to say, greet them and ask what their business is before letting them into even a lobby. We're pricing out rear doors that would be electronically locked, and staff would swipe in and try to eliminate keys at the exterior door. So that's some research that's going on at this point. We've been looking at some other structural things inside the buildings that we would like to do. And just a deep physical evaluation of our campuses. Principals all submitted to me in July, August range. There's a detailed check sheet, campus check sheet, and we did that at the beginning of the school year. We trained principals with law enforcement, look-fors, trimming hedges, not having hiding spots outside of doorways, things like that. So we took a really close look at that before we opened the doors this last school year. And we're doing it again. We're looking at campuses. We're making sure security cameras and security systems are things we need to do. We've had some folks looking at our camera systems, and we've been really crossing T's and dotting I's. So we just wanted to let you know that. It's been a positive deep dive. We won't stop. We can't stop. So it needs to be ongoing. So it's my two topics sticking on it.
Great. Good deal, thank you. 6.06. Oops, wrong. 6:05. Ms. Rowell.
That's okay. Thank you. Good evening, board members. It's my pleasure this evening to actually talk to you. The warm weather outside is appropriate for this, our summer planning programs. Before I say that, though, at each of your seats, you should have a little memento postcard from the annual art show that we had last evening for the division. It was at Lurie High, very, very well attended. It was great to see so many students and families come out, and it's not always nice to see the student bent over their artwork and their parent taking their picture, and it was just great fun. So it was a good event. We're glad to be getting back to those routines and having those. Okay, so for instruction this evening, we're going to talk about summer. And we've got quite a robust summer planned. Our doors are going to stay open for the most part this entire summer. We've got a summer academic academy planned for K-5, 6, 8, and 9, 12 different programs I'll tell you more about. We'll also have our traditional kindergarten kickstart near the end of the summer to help those little ones that are new to school for the first time get acclimated to their buildings and kind of recognize some faces and get excited about that. And then summer camps, which we also provided last summer, we're going to revisit those. So before I get into those details, regardless of the program, they're all going to run Monday through Thursday. So even though on our calendar, there are some weeks where the division is doing the 10-hour days Monday through Thursday and offices are closed on Friday, and then we revert to 5 days. Regardless of that timing, these programs will consistently be Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to 12:30 for students. Transportation will be provided, most likely at consolidated stops for families to get their student to, unless extenuating circumstances might need some support. Food service is going to provide both breakfast and lunch for students. And we're trying to design this so that there's flexibility so that students may be able to attend more than one session. By offering that, you'll see the academic portion continuously, it will allow for the student that may need to attend that and get that academic support, but may also want to participate in a camp. And of course, all programs are free to currently enroll Leach County Public School students, which is wonderful. So let me tell you a little bit about the Summer Academic Academy. And in front of you, you have a flyer that outlines all the dates and such. On the back is a brief overview of the selection criteria that principals worked on together by level to determine who do they really want to attend their summer programs. So the focus is going to be on language arts and mathematics. We're going to use that 4 hours to embed, obviously, some recess, social time too, but focus on those two areas. They're really focusing on how our students' grades performing right now. We don't want to wait to SOL. It's a little too late to make some decisions, but that may certainly also impact a decision later in the year. Attendance, just all things of that nature that impact the students, how successful they may have been this year, and what will help springboard them into the coming school year, most importantly. They are preparing to send their first wave of invites out on the 21st and start to get that feedback. So they'll see what kind of response they're getting, help make phone calls, things of that nature, and reach out additionally. Our summer camps, we'll have 4 of those, just like last year. We have the arts and cultural camp, the sports and recreation, STEM, and environmental. That will also, again, be open to students of all grade levels. However, this year, we are going to cap that at 50 students to make sure we get the best experience possible and that we have the turnout that we want for that. So more than likely, we're going to have more than 50 students in choir, and that's great. And when we get to that point, we're going to have a little lottery to select the 50 for that. Kindergarten Kickstart, kind of the self-explanatory, that will be during the last 8-day time frame that I'll explain to you, and offered at each elementary school. Again, so that the students can be in their building where they will be attending kindergarten and get that experience. So the flyer, this complex little chart, basically what we've done too, in order to consolidate our resources, which is allowing us financially even to be able to do all of these things, is not to offer every single program at every building. That requires more staff, that's more as you can imagine. And we're leaning on our ESSER funds to still be able to make the majority of this happen. So the Elementary Academic Academy is going to be 4 different sessions. Each one is 8 days in length, again, Monday through Thursday. And we've designated the first 2 sessions at Luray Elementary and the second 2 at Stanley. So we're essentially taking our division and kind of splitting into a northern pocket and a southern, but students can go wherever. If I live in Shenandoah and my family's on vacation a good portion of the summer and the only one I'm available to attend is that first session, we can get you to Luray Elementary School. That's not a problem. And then the Middle School Academic Academy, those are a little longer. They're 4-week sessions, again, 16 days at Luray Elementary and Stanley. And then the high school, similar model to the middle school at Luray High and Page High. And then you can see the camp breakdown there. So again, this also helps transportation and organizing what they need to, because you can imagine that's quite a challenge to get that together, and helps consolidate resources for food service and et cetera. So that's all that. What questions do you have for me about that?
My one question would be, so I think it's fair and right to do, the 50 student cap and with the lottery and all, but for those that don't get chosen that are interested, can we provide the list of other summer activities, or if we can't refer to specific activities, a place they could go to? Because, if kids want to get out and do stuff, I don't, want them to miss an opportunity because, they weren't chosen. I don't know if there's like a resource guide or something.
And
Or does somebody get to sign up for all 4?
No.
What if they get drawn twice?
Yeah,
we're gonna look at that too,
Okay.
because to her point, to make sure that it's kind of, there's
Like they rank what they want to be drawn out of?
they're going to just acknowledge interest in each one, but similar to what Ms. Alger said, to look at that, because to put me in all 4 when there's other students interested, you have to balance that. But the object, like I was mentioning earlier, is to make sure that, particularly if it's a student that needs the academic program, they could possibly get that. So if I'm a student that the only one I really, really, really want is STEM camp, but I really, really need to get the academics too, we can find a way to split that. Make that happen.
Picky question.
Sure.
Middle school academy. It's going to be held in the elementary school.
Yeah.
Are the kids going to say, "Be in an elementary school"?
We talked about that, and we talked about that with the principals for all of it, because, there's always some that think, well, I don't know if my students are comfortable in my school, or they're going to want to go anywhere but my school. But again, that was a tough choice we had to make in order to be able to offer all of this programming.
They're kind of different, that age group.
Yeah.
They're gonna use the,
Just a little bit.
they're gonna use the 5th grade class, so
Yeah.
they won't be sitting at the
At the little desk, at the
kindergarten table.
tables.
Yes. Yeah. We'll give them the big chair.
It's a fair question.
And a cheese stick.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that sounds exciting, and I appreciate all the time and effort you put into that.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on to 6.06. Dr. Johnson, policy GCPD.
Yes, if you remember, we brought this to you as informational at the last meeting, and intentionally, we would like to keep it as informational. I'll tell you a little bit of what's gone on over the last 2 weeks. We've really gotten some good staff input, but we want more staff input. I've fielded some calls. I've spoken with Mrs. Cassie Bailey, who is the head of the PCPA group, and they really took a deep look at it and gave me some inputs and comments. Next steps, we're forming a steering committee, and we're going to have a combination of folks. Those that this really is affecting are those that have long-term accumulated leave, 12-month vacation leave, and then for everybody, the 10-month through the 12-month sick leave. So the next steps are, I've already got some folks committed. I'm going to try to pick up a couple more to have a steering committee. And I'm really looking for those that have been in the division for some time, that really this policy is going to affect, because there's some great questions, some things to iron out. What about FMLA? What about extenuating circumstances in that final year? As it is, it could cause us some problems. So it was good. People were really listening at the last board meeting, and that generated some good conversation. So next steps are to get more input, have a committee really work through some of these questions that have come up, and not just us at central office try to answer them. So I hope to bring it back to you as action next time, but maybe not. We'll see how the committee work goes. I really want faculty and staff to be able to say they were heard before, because this is a pretty big policy. It impacts people's leave. It impacts payouts at the end of their stay with us. So we don't take that lightly. So that's why it's still informational tonight.
Anybody have any questions? Let's see here. Dr. Fox, student representatives on school board policy BBB.
Yes, tonight I'm going to bring this to you so we can update it, because what we'd like to do is have your interviews of students happen before the end of the school year. The students for next year can then be in place July 1 and can participate if they're available in any of the activities that we do over the summer. And come our first official start of the school year board meeting, they're already seated and in place. So the change we need to make is, if you all recall, we amended the policy to have 3, our beautiful young ones that are sitting in front of us tonight. So what we're doing is bringing to you tonight a proposal that you have two representatives, one from each high school, and that we move forward with that in a permanent state. We've just amended a couple of typos and things in here, and then just added in the piece that they'll provide regular updates to the board, because you all found that really helpful, and they've done a great job with that. So we've just added that language. What that'll allow us to do is to go ahead and push out applications at the school level. Now, get them in. You all can tell me who your 2 folks are that are going to do the interviews. We've set aside the time for sometime either in early May to mid-May. We'll get with you all to pick the dates of when we'll do those interviews. We'll coordinate with the schools. And then hopefully by the May 25th school board meeting, you'll approve your new student representatives for next year. We're working with the principals, going to expand how we communicate that out. We're going to rely on you guys to help us with that. We'll push some blasts out, obviously, division-wide, but we'll focus in on our current 10th and 11th grade classes, because those will be your rising juniors and seniors for next year. So I'd like to, if you guys are okay with this in a proposal, I'd like to see if you're all right to move it to the approval tonight. I can bring it back to you if you want to think about it, but
Make a motion to move it to the
okay.
action.
I would like to encourage good communication this year. That's kind of how we came to with the 3 because of. So as long as the communication is out there and students are getting the information in a timely manner, I think I have no problem. So, all right, we have a motion on the floor to move it to tonight for approval.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for that.
And Dr. Fox update. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I need a motion to approve.
It doesn't get stuck
Well, we'll
down
put it
there on
at
the sheet.
7.09. We'll amend it to 7:09
Yeah.
and then come
Okay.
back to it in the
Okay.
approval section.
Okay. Okay. Now your update.
Okay, so good evening to everybody. Tonight, what I have for you just is a short update on where we are with the budget. We're still not where we'd like to be. It's still, I'm not sure as a superintendent I can say this, but it's a hot mess. So I'm going to say it because it's a hot mess at the state level. And I say that as respectfully as I can. I think everybody would agree with this. But right now, the General Assembly still has not agreed on a budget and moved it over to the governor. So I think there have been some conversations in the background, but what we're hearing right now, based on news reports and information that we're getting from the Virginia Association of School Superintendents and the VSBA School Board Association, is that likely nothing is going to move until after the primaries in June. So that's putting it at getting a budget approved at the state level into mid to late June. Our new fiscal year starts July 1. So this is a real different challenge for us. They did approve a skinny budget back when they concluded their session, but that really didn't do a whole lot to address much of anything. The one thing it did say was that it fixed that calculation tool error for this past year. It did not address the coming year. So that's still a question that's out there. We're assuming that's going to get fixed, but at this point, we don't know. We don't have anything definitive to say that it will. So that's where we are at the state level. So there's going to be a holdup with that. That impacts the locality significantly, and then that impacts us significantly. So the state and the VDOE have directed us to use the approved, this is even prior to the governor's amended December budget, the approved biennial budget that was approved 2 years ago. And so in that, they've also said they want us to include a 5% raise. If you guys recall, there was an amendment out there to move the 10% over the biennium to 12%. And then there was the piece that came out that you can't get credit for what you did last year. Well, now they're saying just do a flat 5%. Everybody do a 5%. You don't get credit for last year. If you want to go above 5%, obviously you can, but the minimum you need to do is a 5%. So that's what we're moving forward with in that. They have provided a new calc tool, which Ms. Seacrest is spending her days and nights in, getting all that stuff lined up so that we can come back and bring you some numbers. Because if we're using the original approved budget, we have the 5%. Now we can get you some numbers that will change again in June, but we at least have some numbers to bring you. Do you want to add anything to that?
I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you, Ms. Seacrest. You tutored me well. So then now you look at the local level because the state impacts the local level. So the Board of Supervisors, for their FY24 proposed budget that they put out probably about a month ago now, it's level funding for us as a division. So no increase for this upcoming school year. So this coming Monday, they have their tax increase hearing. And they have a public hearing for their budget and the school division's budget. So it's not our hearing, it's their hearing for their proposed budget. And then the tax increase, which you guys have seen all that information put out by them. Their schedule is May 1st, they have to approve their budget. There is a state regulation out there that by May 15th, they have to have an approved budget. So once they adopt their budget, though, on May 1st, they cannot make amendments until July 1st. We don't get budget information until the mid to late June. We can't make any adjustments. They then can't do anything with our budget until July 1. So we then will have to go back to them in July. Their meeting is July 17th. And request additional funds if we don't, whatever, to cover whatever we don't get from state funding or for these positions that we've asked to put in, anything that we've included in our budget. So salary increases, the health insurance increases, and or any of the staffing positions that we've put in. So May 1st, they approve. They can't amend till July 1st. Their first meeting in July is not till the 17th. That leads to the next slide, which is the implications of all of that. So the biggest one for us is contracts, because we would like to get contracts out before staff leave. We've already had this conversation. You guys know how important that is in terms of people leaving with the confidence that they've got a job and a salary for the next school year. We're going to have to issue those contracts based on that 5% without fully knowing that we've been funded, either from the locality or from the state. We'll have a general idea of what the state will allocate and what the local portion of that 5% is. But because they can't amend till July 1, they can't come back and say to us, yeah, you've got that money. Does that make sense? So this clause is what's in our contract, and that is going to become imperative as we communicate out to staff that while we're giving you this contract, it's based on the 5% or whatever number we land on at that point, it is contingent on funding. So should we come into July and either the state says we're only giving you this and the locality says we're only going to fund this, we may have to pull those contracts back and say it's going to be less, or, the locality and the state might say you can go up to 7%, and we might pull them back and say you've got more. But that's the statement for your assurance, and for our staff's assurance to know that when we publish those, even though we won't know the allocations, that's where we're going. We're trying our best to make a contract to hold on to that, but that clause has to be in there.
Is there no chance that the Board of Supervisors would consider a special meeting just for this, since we're not getting anything until whenever, and then they can't do anything until after July 1? Is there no chance that they would consider a special meeting just because of this?
We can ask. We can certainly
I think
ask.
we should ask, and if we need to call our supervisors and plead with them to please consider that for the sake of, I think it's worth that.
The second piece that's impacted, is the hiring process altogether. In terms of any of these new positions that we might want to put in, like, for example, the early childhood special education position, what we told you is absolutely necessary, unless we can find local funds within our current budget, because we're not getting anything, or state funds, we would have to potentially hold on any posting of those positions until we get fully funded from the locality. So as it's set right now, that would be until July 17th. You're then posting a job. In the middle of July, we start in the
bottom feeder.
Yeah, and we also have, a sort of a gentleman's agreement in the region that we won't steal and poach from each other. That deadline is June 15th. So people that are in other divisions that have signed contracts, we can't go to them, and we shouldn't, because that's the agreement that we make as a division. So that's going to really, really impact hiring for any of those new positions that we might be able to fund in the budget. And then the final piece of it is our health insurance renewal. That's coming in at just over $400,000. We have to make a commitment with them to ensure that we have that health insurance in place for next year by June 1st. It's actually a little bit sooner than that, because there's some paperwork that has to be finished and done. So we're sitting with that money where we don't know if we're going to have any state funds or local funds to cover that. So the suggestion made to us in the meeting that we had with the Board of Supervisors that we potentially look at end of year money as a stopgap and use that in July. But we don't know what our end of year, we may not have $400,000 in end of year money. We don't know yet. We're not, Ms. Seacrest is working, but.
And on, I don't mean to interrupt you, I apologize. And on that, you all know their auditors don't present their audit until December or January, and they rely heavily on that for what our end of year funds are. I don't know that if we go and say, this is what we're projecting, if that's going to be adequate enough, or if they're going to push us off until they have an auditor tell them, which would then be December or January.
Well, you mentioned 400K. Where did that number come from? Was that last year?
No, that's the 9.5% renewal that we've already gotten from the health insurance. And we're working with them to see if there's anything we can do there to lower that. But we do have to commit by July 1st for them, and that makes sure we have everything in place for employees for next year.
Got a break last year, right?
Yeah.
Years in a row, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then this year it changed.
We figured we would get hit at some point. Yeah.
People are going back to the doctor. You know, everyone was on lockdown
Yeah.
and all of that. We
Yeah.
didn't go anywhere. And now people are doing a lot of the elective procedures that we weren't allowed to do during the pandemic.
So in terms of all of that and how we mitigate that, obviously, we're going to continue to have conversations with Ms. Moeller and the Board of Supervisors. Once we get some concrete numbers, we'll share that information with you, and then we'll go to them and say, well, this is where we are now. What can be done to mitigate some of these implications that are pretty challenging? And we'll see where we land with them. We'll have to see where things land on Monday night with their tax hearing and their public hearing for the budget. And then I think we just have to keep talking with them to see where we can go and what assurances we can have with different things. And then hope maybe the legislature kicks it in and, you know, by mid-May, maybe they have something. I'd like to be optimistic, Mr. Painter, but we'll just have to see. So unfortunately, it's a little bit more of a waiting game. And some challenges definitely ahead of us that are very, very different than what we faced last year. Last year, it was just delays. This is very different. And so I don't want our staff to lose confidence. We're pushing. You know, I think we're advocating at every turn that we can. And we'll continue to have conversations with the Board of Supervisors and see if the state makes any amendments to their codes about when budgets have to be done and things like that. And if we can request special meetings, we'll certainly advocate for that. But our goal is to try that week of May to push out contracts to our staff so that people are leaving at the end of the school year with a contract in hand and as valid and accurate as a contract as it can be at that time. So these are just dates. We've gone over these a number of times with you all. It's just a reminder. We usually put these at the end of every thing. Your next meeting is on the 27th. At that point, we'll hope to have something more definitive for you. They'll do their budget, and then we have that work session is built in there in the event that we need to come back to the table because of their approved budget. It may be that as things transpire, we may have to call a work session or something like that, especially in mid-June, that we typically wouldn't have, so that we can make sure we give you guys information and maybe not always wait till the next school board meeting. We have to push a little faster with some things. So that's where we are tonight.
And just a couple comments. So at the School Board Association today, the meeting, Craig Deeds was there. And your best case is July 1st. So you move on with the contracts. It's now the thing that needs to be discussed with people and maybe making some phone calls to Mr. Gilbert and other people, Mr. Oakshane. They've got a surplus in the state and they're trying to give that money back to the taxpayers. And, you know, guys like Prey are trying to, let's keep funding our schools and get our teacher pay up towards that. I think our state is the 11th or 12th salary per capita, which is skewed by Northern Virginia and the government money, right? Different military things. And our teachers aren't even close to that. So that's the big argument is if you're going to talk to your representatives, that's the thing to say. And then mental health is another huge issue. And I think even Republicans and Democrats are all on the same page with that. They know what's going on with that. Hampton gave a presentation with so they had their Amity and Dr. Fox there. Right? And that's where we want to go. That's where we want to be eventually in the relationship. It's all about relationship, how you work together. And one of the interesting things that they said there is that their county guaranteed 61.83% of their taxes was going to be earmarked for the schools. So I went and asked one of the board supervisors to ask Amy's going to send me that information because it's in our packets anyway. But I think that's something to really start looking at moving forward as well. When we make a commitment that, hey, 60%, 70% is going to be, or whatever that number is. I'm curious to see what I asked for the last 5 years. And I'll get that when I get it, I'll forward it to you guys, so you know. But I thought that was a great idea. Look at it that way. And they work, you know, when one needs one, they work together with it. It's great. It's a great coordination, which we don't have here. We don't have that between this board, your administration, and the board of supervisors. We do not have that. I think you have a good feel with Amity if you talk about things, work through things. But just a couple comments.
Anybody else? We'll move on on to action items, 7.01, approval for claims of payment.
Good evening again, board members. You have been provided with the claim certification where operating expenditures for $41,387.14. Capital improvement expenditures, $248,691.85. Food service expenditures, $54,199.97. Total expenditures, $544,278.96. Along with that, you've been provided with the list of claims as well as your check registers. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer those.
Make a motion that we approve the claims payment as presented.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor to approve claims for payment by Mr. Gubler. Made the motion, and Ms. Alger made the second
Painter,
motion.
Dr. Painter.
Oh,
Yes. Mr. President.
Yes.
Dr. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Gabriel.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to purchase orders over $10,000.
Yes, good evening. We have 6 purchase orders over 10,000 for your approval this evening. The first 2 are for Largent Roofing using CIP state construction money on roof replacements at Springfield and Lee Road Middle School. The third is for LES playground accessibility for concrete sidewalk, and that would be using ESSER 2 funds. The last 3 are technology POs using local technology money for different things such as iPads, Chromebooks, Optiplex. And if you have any questions, myself and or the team will answer those.
What's an Optiplex? Is that a monitor?
Mr. Samples will answer.
Meter tower. A tower. Okay. Got it.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase orders over 10,000.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the purchase orders over 10,000 by Dr. Painter and second by
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Gabriel.
Yes.
Ms. Alger.
Yes.
Ms. Robinson.
yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Thank you. Okay, 7.03, nutritional service software RFP, Dr. Johnson.
Yes, if you remember at the last meeting, Ms. Jeffries stood at the podium and explained to you all the hope that we could put out an RFP to begin to look at modernizing our point of access technology in the cafeterias for students. There's a lot more that can be done as technology has expounded over the last 4 or 5 years since the last time. And so we ask for your approval on that request tonight.
Make a motion that we approve the nutritional services software RFP as presented.
Second.
Have a motion to approve the software. Dr. Painter made the motion, Mr. Painter second.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Gabriel.
Yes.
Ms. Alger. Yes. Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Okay, moving on, 7.04, approval of nutritional services fresh produce.
Thank you. And I should have mentioned Ms. Jeffries is representing us at an out-of-state nutritional services conference, which is why she's not with us tonight. But the second piece to that was the fresh produce RFP that she detailed last time. That we are hoping for your approval there as well.
Make a motion that we.
I was going to go for it.
There you go.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll make a motion that we approve the nutritional services fresh produce RFP.
Second.
Yes.
We have a motion by Mrs. Alger and a second by Dr. Painter to approve this.
Yes.
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 Gubler gets this.
I was just waiting for it.
Okay, Dr. Johnson, you're up again, 7.06, Grove Hill lease.
Yes.
No, it's a rooftop solar.
Oh, I'm sorry, the solar project. Sorry about that.
Yep, that sounds good.
Mr. Bell.
Thank you. Yes, since the last meeting, Mr. Bell and I have been at work just checking some more nuances to the solar presentation that we gave, and we were able to meet with the admin and both electricity teachers at the technical center. That team was very excited about the idea of solar project, teaching it, folding it into their Electricity 2 courses. Rather than just jump at it, though what they did, I really appreciated, they went back and they had conversation with students. And the students were excited about the potential. I even had one approach me in the community about it and said, oh, I hear we might be able to do this. And so pretty exciting group of students and staff at bringing another trade to Page County and equipping the students to take that with them following graduation. So for us, if you remember with the document that Mr. Bell assembled, it was not so much about lifetime savings. And you recall the division would save about $4,600 with these solar panels on the roof. We did look into 25 and 20-year terms. Mr. Bell did a tremendous amount of work on projecting the numbers. And actually, if we go 25 years, we would, instead of making 4,600, it would projected it would cost us 7,700. And if we went down to 20 years, the projection is that it would probably cost us 13,600. So any less than 30, we would be out of pocket to provide this opportunity. But at 30, the educational component continues to be a big benefit, and we don't pay for it. That's the big nuance here. And we are very much in support of the educational component that goes with this. So given all of that, the recommendation would be for a 30-year agreement with Cherry Street that would include all of the educational component and a partnership with our electrical teachers and students.
That's fine. Make a motion that we approve the rooftop solar project with a 30-year option.
Do we have a second? I'll second. Discussion, questions?
Ms. Al? Yes. Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Beadle?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon?
Okay, now 7.06, Grove Hill lease.
Yes, more homework achieved over the last 2 weeks. Before you, you'll see the lease, but it is not quite as presented last time. We did go back and we took a intent look. Mrs. Sechrist did a deep dive into the Grove Hill facility from a fiscal point of view. And we realized, and I have also met with Mr. Holcomb at Grove Hill. He's the representative that we deal with in this partnership. And we realized that actually, when you look at the cost to run Grove Hill with the occupancy, with the fuel use, electricity, all of those things, that we needed to present a figure much greater than 3,300, which is what we had initially suggested. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the issue of fairness, and it's a big jump to go from 3,000 to 4,100. But it was well said in this meeting that at the same time, Page County Public Schools and the taxpayer can't fund expenses of Grove Hill with somebody leasing the building. This 4,100, I think Ms. Sechrist and I believe, does cover our expenses. It does not create a profit for the school system. It covers the expenditures to keep that building open for those folks to use it as an academy. And so that's the only change to this document from last time, and it's rooted in a little bit of financial history and work that we did.
I make a motion that we approve the Grove Hill lease as presented by Dr. Johnson.
Second.
A motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr. Painter to approve.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Hooper?
Yes.
Ms. Alger? Yes. Ms. Sullivan? Ms. Gordon?
Thank you.
Thank you. And 7.07, policy IFAC, promotion and retention. Ms. Ryan.
Yes, thank you, board members. Your last meeting, we reviewed our promotion and retention policy and added the language around a regulation that specifically outlined the procedures and practices for that. So with that, questions or any thoughts since we last talked, but I'd like to ask for approval this evening so we can pursue that.
Make a motion, we approve policy IFAC, promotion and
Second.
per term.
We have a motion by Dr. Painter and second by Ms. Alger.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Dugan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Okay, and 7.8, approval of instructional
Yes.
materials.
Yes, that's me. And we've had to do these separate, but we think there were 4 different policies put together.
Yeah,
Should we
because,
separate action items or?
these are all regulations, right?
Um,
There's no policy, they're all regulations.
Correct.
So
They're
you
all
can do them
regulation.
together.
Okay. So I'll just kind of run through again real quickly as a reminder. The first one was a regulation with policy IIA, which is in regard to instructional materials. That one outlined our regulations associated specifically with that sexually explicit portion of that policy and how we will address that. Policy IIAA is our textbook selection and adoption and the regulations to go with that, handling those procedures. IIAB was supplementary materials and selection, so similar, not the primary resource of textbook, but supplementary materials, including library materials. And then policy KLB, which was public complaints about learning resources, and that was the regulation outlining the procedures for handling that should a parent question a learning resource. All 4 of those.
I make a motion that we approve all 4 regulations regarding instructional materials.
Second.
A motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr. Dubler to approve.
Mr. Dugan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes. 7.09, policy BBBB.
I make a motion that we approve policy BEB, student representative on the school board.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Dugan.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Board discussion time.
May I interject before you guys start?
Sure.
I want to congratulate
Yes.
our 2 seniors. I forgot to do it in my update, so I apologize, but Marta Milam has been accepted to Princeton University. So congratulations. Now you're going to go there, or you haven't made up your mind? Okay. All right. Well, you will share that at the next meeting. And we want to congratulate Jackson because he has committed to the University of Miami, correct? So we're really proud of you guys. Congratulations, all our seniors who are making all those decisions now or going into the workforce or the military or whatever their choice is right now. We look forward to celebrating you all in just over a month at our celebration. So congrats and great job to both of you. Well, thank you.
Yes. And I'd like to just put a plug in there for anyone listening this evening, especially students. How proud can we be of the Page County schools when we have students who have done what they needed to do at all 3 levels and where they have gotten accepted. So many, I just can't say enough to say how proud I am, and congrats to every person that works in the school system because it takes a team, and what a team. So congratulations. And again, to young people, if you're listening, it's there. It's your decision to go after what's being offered. And so I can't say enough there. And I just, again, want to congratulate all of you for the work you've been doing with the budget, with all the changes in the policies, everything here. I mean, wow. So for those listening, we are so lucky to have the people that we have working for this system and the time and effort they're putting in to make things workable from the top to the bottom. And I can't say enough. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I've got a couple things. So we kicked off a mentorship program with the community, and I think we have another community meeting next week. And that was another thing that was emphasized with the meeting with Hampton leadership today. I thought that was good. It kind of dovetails what we're doing. And after that meeting, Dr. Fox and I were down at the track meet, and it was a nice warm day. And Marta came up and gave us the news. We saw Jackson, and it felt like we were winning again. That felt good. And I encourage people to get out and get involved in the schools, get that feeling. Today at the conference, there was one thing I think I would ask, maybe Blake could help us with in a later meeting. So I think there's an FCC Affordable Connect program where anyone is eligible for a 30% discount on that. I'm going to send that in an email to get looked into for our students. And that's a big deal, subsidized internet, because that's almost like a utility, really, because you need it for their Chromebooks. Listening to Harrisonburg City, I believe that they monitor their Chromebooks because that's a new expense that we've had with COVID, and how you move forward. That's extra money now that you got to put in the budget. And one of the things that they kind of I guess a metric they look at is 80%. They want 80% of their Chromebooks to be less than 4 years old. So we're going to see costs coming forth now, right? Because we're going to be in the 4th year, I think, next year. So that's something to think about and start thinking about how we're going to manage that. I was speaking to a student not too long ago, and they're going through a tough time, but I want to give a shout out to Mr. Morris at Page County Middle School and how this student really loves math and science, and she really credited him for helping her. And I think when I look at his class, I've been in his classroom, there's scaffolding things you see where he's helping build these gaps, and I think that's a robust way of doing it. And last, so I'm trying to get emotional. I went to Grove Hill Elementary School, and I was surrounded by some great women. Miss Helen Huffman, who kept us in line. Mrs. Gokenauer, Doug Gokenauer's mother, was just tremendous in encouraging us. And then there was a lady who helped run the kitchen, and her name was Loretta Schuler. She passed away recently, 89, I believe. She was a 25-year retiree, and I remember her taking care of the kids that needed to be taken care of. That's special when we got there. And that's the thing I'd like to tell all of our staff. Thank you for taking care of people.
Anyone else? Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.